As we approach the start of a new year, there has been a lot of discussion about Drake's current situation, specifically where he crashed out and what caused him to fail.
I do music, in case you didn't know. I'm here, as you can see, fully intact. Mind, body, and soul, in case you were wondering, right?
Mind, body, and soul.
Mind, body, and soul. You need facts to take me out. Fairy tales won't do it. Cheers to everybody.
Words live by.
Drake is increasingly gravitating toward things that are blatantly anti-hip-hop. Drake continues to act as like he cares about his music career despite all of this and the fact that he's far more interested in hanging out with streamers than rappers. Despite everything else, Drake still has an album with Party Next Door, another member of OVO scheduled for release. However, in amongst all the other embarrassing incidents that demonstrated that he is still very much involved in the Kendrick Lamar feud, Drake also stated at his D's-Ass event that his collaborative album with PND was prepared for release on December 6th, but for some reason did not. And when Drake was discussing this, he gave the impression that his primary goal was to polish the product and make it more widely available, but given his previous work ethic, I believe we can all understand that this is a blatant and brazen lie. Furthermore, we can determine that Kendrick Lamar and his album GNX are specifically responsible for Drake's decision to postpone his release date and disclose this to the public. Drake was more apprehensive than ever to enter the largest music venue because of the record's recent popularity. Even after the initial release in the first few weeks, the impact that Kendrick Lamar's album is having on the industry as a whole is placing Drake in a position where releasing his next album is certain to ruin what little legacy he still has left. Please remember to subscribe and leave a like before we get any further into why this is the case. Therefore, even if Drake is attempting to mislead us by claiming that the album he is releasing next is among his most proud works to date and that he is eager to release it, we all know that this is untrue. Given his past actions, Drake would have dropped the album against any artist on the schedule, including Kendrick Lamar and GNX, and if he truly thought it would save his career. This is in addition to the fact that he simply postponed dropping the album and did everything he could to properly build hype for it, beyond a few words and comments here and there. If he truly thought that his songs could outchart and exceed everything on Kendrick's project, album by album. But now that Drake has backed down from even wanting to mess with Kendrick during what would have been GNX's third week of tracking, it seems like the right decision for him. This is especially true given that GNX had the most successful album release of the year when it came to records that were only released on streaming and did not have singles or physical albums put out in stores and ready to ship. The fact that the album had all of its songs charting in the third week, making it the first album in history to do so, shows how successful that was. He was aware that releasing a record while Kendrick was still topping the charts and literally setting records would have been interpreted as a desperate move and would have further cemented Kendrick's victory over him, not only in their back and forth, but also in hip-hop and the music industry at large. Overall, it would have been a horrible look for Drake to collaborate with Party Next Door on this album, which aims to not only be a comeback album from everything he has been through, but also to allow him to lean more into his city's roots than he has ever done on a single project. After Kendrick won the beef, Drake is now running and attempting to lean into what his city stands for musically, with one of the main points being that Drake runs everywhere but where he's from. However, what's so brilliant about this situation, whether or not Kendrick intended for it to be released at this time, is that with the release of GNX at the end of November and its success dominating the rest of the music industry for the entirety of 2024 and apparently for the start of next year, he hasn't just taken over the charts with a collection of songs that forced Drake to push back an entire record. Kendrick has now made Drake's comeback attempt more difficult than ever. Drake hasn't dropped because of Kendrick, and all of this is due to the current state of his career and the direction the music industry is taking. Drake hopes that releasing this album will give him more time before his eventual downfall and a little bit of positivity during this time when he can't seem to catch any sort of wins. The lesson that Drake will finally take away from this is that as soon as Kendrick Lamar began to destroy his reputation in a way that we have never seen before, he ought to have simply worked on his music career and attempted to make something truly amazing. Due to our current situation, it is now becoming too late. Drake couldn't release this project at the end of the year because of his current self, where his songs barely chart. his reputation has never been worse, and the hype for his new music is at an all-time low, even as Gen X finally enters weeks where it is not selling over 100,000 copies, which has taken more than a month to happen and is still historic for hip-hop. Because he would have had to compete against one of the other most well-known musicians in the world at the moment, CA, who is not only a member of Kendrick Lamar's Top Dog Entertainment label, but is also set to accompany him on a full stadium tour. Drake didn't even want to try to compete with SZA at this point because of the hype surrounding her new deluxe version of her SOS album Lana, and the fact that Kendrick Lamar featured on it. This gave him another record that has been close to the top of the charts. And this record is just putting up massive numbers all over the place. As the new year approaches, Drake's situation will only grow worse because Lil Baby's upcoming album is already scheduled for a huge release on January 3rd in the rap industry. Even though Drake is far bigger than Lil Baby, it would not be a good look for him to tread on the release of an Atlanta rapper. Therefore, I don't think he is concerned about not being able to exceed Lil Baby at this moment, because he is another artist who has simply lost a lot of excitement. He appears to be spoiling a moment and an album by a rapper and a group of other featured guests, with whom he hopes to become friends and whom he will need to strive to acquire features from going forward in order to maintain some degree of respect in hip-hop culture. In addition to attempting to maintain any rap friendships he may have left, Drake will have to compete with Bad Bunny, who is putting out a record on January 5th if he hopes to release this album during the remainder of January. Despite the fact that Bad Bunny and Drake often appeal to distinct audiences, Bad Bunny is another musician whose albums will vie for the #1 spot on the charts due to his immense fame. Given that Drake's level of fame has been steadily declining while Bad Bunny's has been constant, this is going to be another week that Drake is completely terrified of, much like Kendrick and SZA. The Weeknd, one of the few musicians on the earth who can perform full stadium tours anywhere in the world and who is due to release what is likely to be their final album, will then face Drake at the end of the month after all the excitement around this project. Now that he is a musical superstar and is promoting this record with extravagant events such as a whole movie, The Weeknd also has a falling out with Drake and has been participating in all of this year's events. As a result, Drake's stakes have never been higher than they are now. This matchup would be much more fierce and intimate because they both hail from the same place. Drake's career would finish in many ways if he were to lose against The Weeknd at this point, when he has never been in a worse position. In addition to losing his reputation as an MC and rapper, he will undoubtedly no longer be regarded as the monarch of his native land. There will be another significant moment when Kendrick sweeps the Grammys, which are approaching after this. The Super Bowl will undoubtedly take place, and we have yet to learn what more Kendrick Lamar might do. With the way things are going, if Kendrick is planning to release a new album around this time, knowing all of this, and knowing that when Kendrick Lamar sings Not Like Us during the Super Bowl, it will cement Drake's demise like never before. Drake's career has reached a point where, unless he can create a monumental moment in this time, when the industry has never been more competitive in terms of the totality of stars releasing music, he will not be able to regain any sort of respect and move past the Kendrick beef permanently. This is due to Drake's own fear of Kendrick and his inability to generate any kind of hype or simply put effort into making an actual project of significance. It will be crucial to observe how each and every one of these album releases ultimately affects the music industry as we begin this year and look ahead to the coming months, which are genuinely going to have some of the most significant effects for the next 10 years on hip-hop and all of music. How the momentum of Kendrick and SZA continues to dominate R&B and hip-hop. And in the midst of all of this, see if Drake can do anything to even somewhat pique interest in him and his contributions. However, given Drake's current situation, it appears hard for him to stand in this league and accomplish anything successfully. We have absolutely no reason to have faith in his talents. Drake doesn't appear to care that the clock is ticking and that he has his back to the wall. Even yet, it has never been more crucial for him to deliver something that is truly of high quality. Drake seems to be more focused on doing things like not just trying to pursue a record like Not Like Us for all the success it has had, especially at this time when the biggest stars are coming out and he is only growing more terrified of the competition in the industry, and of course Kendrick Lamar and everything he has going on, from GNX to the Super Bowl and really all the way to the unknown at this point. He is now more interested in hanging out with streamers and doing things that are completely unrelated to hip-hop than he was in actually getting in the booth and creating good songs. Drake's situation has never appeared worse because of all of this, and the fact that we are so close to witnessing his greatest failure be cemented in a way that no other hip-hop artist has ever experienced. When all is said and done, the fact that GNX intimidated him into releasing this new album might turn out to be his most disastrous decision ever. After considering all of this, tell me your thoughts on Drake delaying his album due to GNX's success. What direction do you believe his career will take him from here? In terms of first week sales, do you believe Drake can still surpass artists like The Weeknd and Bad Bunny? Or do you think these artists will demonstrate that Drake's career is truly over more than we have ever seen?